Welcome to Daily Book Insight. Today, we are diving into an absolute giant, a book that has genuinely changed millions of lives. Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Now, this is not your average self-help book. Think of it more like a blueprint, a profound roadmap for changing your life from the inside out.
This quote right here, it perfectly sets the stage. Real success, real excellence, it's not about that one heroic moment or that one big win. Nope. It's about the small things you do consistently, day in and day out. It's about building habits that automatically push you in the direction you want to go.
So, Covey starts with this huge idea. For a long time, the focus was on what he calls the personality ethic. The quick fixes, looking good, learning a few slick techniques. But Covey says that's all superficial. True effectiveness comes from the character ethic. This is the deep stuff, your integrity, your honesty, your core principles. It's an inside-out approach because, let's face it, you can't fake character for long.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll cover the private victory. That's all about mastering yourself. Then, we'll get into the public victory, how to win with other people. We'll talk about the crucial habit of renewal, and then we'll tie it all together to see the full path to effectiveness.
All right, let's get into it. The whole journey starts with what Covey calls the private victory. This is the foundational work we have to do on ourselves, moving from dependence to true independence.
And that work begins with habit number 1, be proactive. This is a game changer. It's all about realizing that you are in the driver's seat of your life. Imagine 2 people at a job they both dislike. One person complains, blames everyone, and years later, they're still there, still miserable. The other person takes that frustration, takes responsibility, and finds a better job. That is the difference between being reactive and proactive.
And you can literally hear the difference. Reactive people focus on their circle of concern, all the things they have no control over. But proactive people, they put their energy into their circle of influence, the things they can actually change. You can't control what happens to you, but you always have the power to choose how you respond to it. Now for the next habit, Covey uses a pretty powerful exercise. Just go with me on this for a second. Imagine you walk into a funeral, and as you get closer to the front, you realize it's your funeral. What do you want people to be saying about you? As a friend, as a family member, as a colleague? How do you truly want to be remembered?
That powerful thought experiment leads us right into habit 2, begin with the end in mind. See, Covey says everything is created twice, first in your mind and then in reality. You wouldn't build a house without a blueprint, right? So why would you try to build a life without one? This habit is all about creating your personal mission statement, your internal compass that guides every decision you make.
And this question just cuts right to the chase. It's so easy to get caught up in being busy and climbing the ladder of success that we never stop to ask, is this ladder leaning against the right wall? You can be incredibly busy without being the slightest bit effective. Beginning with the end in mind, make sure all your hard work is actually pointed in the right direction.
Which leads us perfectly to habit number 3. Put first things first. Okay, so if habit 2 was creating the blueprint, habit 3 is picking up the hammer and nails. This is where the rubber meets the road. It's about discipline and execution, day after day.
To do this, Covey gives us the time management matrix. It breaks our time into 4 quadrants. Now, most of us live in quadrant 1, crises and deadlines, and quadrant 3, interruptions. We're constantly putting out fires. But highly effective people? They spend their time in quadrant 2. These are the important things that aren't urgent yet. Things like planning, prevention, and building relationships. This is the stuff that prevents crisis from ever happening in the first place.
So once you've achieved that private victory, once you're independent, you're ready for the next level, the public victory. This is where we move from I to we to what Covey calls interdependence. And this stage kicks off with habit 4, think win-win. So many of us are programmed with a win-lose mentality. For me to win, you have to lose. Covey tells a story about a company president who set up a competition for a trip to Bermuda to encourage cooperation. Of course, it just created a cutthroat environment. Win-win is a totally different way of thinking. It's a belief that there's plenty for everybody and that we can create solutions that benefit us all.
To understand the next habit, imagine this. You go to the eye doctor and say, "Doc, my vision is blurry." Before you can say anything else, he takes off his own glasses, hands them to you, and says, "Here, try these. They've worked for me for years." It's absurd, right? You'd never trust that doctor. Why? Because he prescribed before he diagnosed.
And that's the core of habit 5. Most of us don't listen to understand. We listen to reply. We're just waiting for our turn to speak. Covey teaches us to use empathic listening to really, truly get inside the other person's head and see the world from their point of view. So many conflicts would just evaporate if we actually understood each other before trying to offer our own solutions.
And get this, it's not even really about the words. Experts say only about 10% of our communication comes from the words we use. 30% is our tone, and a massive 60% is our body language. So if you're only listening with your ears, you're missing most of the conversation. You have to listen with your eyes and your heart too.
So what happens when you combine that win-win attitude with deep, empathic listening? You get habit 6, synergize. This is where the magic happens. It's where 1 + 1 = 3 or 10 or even 100. It's about creative cooperation where you value people's differences to come up with solutions that no single person could have thought of alone.
We see synergy all over the place. Birds flying in a V formation can travel so much farther together than one could alone. Or think about Apple. You had the visionary Steve Jobs and the engineer Steve Wozniak. Neither one could have built Apple on their own. It was their synergy that changed the world. It's proof that valuing different viewpoints leads to breakthroughs.
Okay, but how do you keep all of this going? How do you sustain it without burning out? Well, that brings us to the final habit, the one that makes all the others possible. Covey tells this famous story about a guy who's been sawing a tree for hours and he's exhausted. Someone walks by and says, "Hey, why don't you take a break and sharpen your saw?" The guy snaps back, "I don't have time for that. I'm too busy sawing." We laugh, but honestly, how often are we that guy, too busy to take care of ourselves?
And that's the essence of the final habit, number 7, sharpen the saw. This is all about taking the time to renew yourself. It is not a luxury, it is an absolute necessity for long-term effectiveness. You have to preserve and enhance the greatest asset you have, which is you.
Covey breaks this down into 4 areas. You've got the physical, exercise, nutrition, rest. The spiritual, connecting with your values, maybe through meditation or just being in nature. The mental, reading, learning, keeping your mind sharp. And the social/emotional, nurturing your relationships. The key is to find a balance and renewing all 4.
So, let's pull all of this together and look at the big picture. How does this all connect and create a path to being truly effective?
The whole framework is what Covey calls the maturity continuum. We all start at dependence. The first 3 habits get us to independence. That's our private victory. But the goal isn't just to be independent. Habits 4, 5, and 6 take us to the highest level, interdependence, the public victory. And the whole thing is powered by habit 7, sharpen the saw, which creates this constant upward spiral of growth.
The 7 habits aren't a quick fix or a checklist you finish. It's a lifelong framework for improvement. So the real question isn't if you should start, but where. Looking at this whole system, which one single habit, if you really focused on it right now, would make the biggest positive difference in your life? Because when you start adopting these principles, you're not just learning a new productivity hack. You are fundamentally upgrading your life's entire operating system.
If this explainer helped you, please go ahead and like, subscribe, and share it with family and friends who want to upgrade their life. Thanks for watching.